I just hit the continue button on both of the devices, Nadia.
Perfect. You're good to go. You can go ahead and start.
Okay. Hey, everyone. Hi. We'll just leave a few minutes for everyone to join in. I'll do a quick introduction. Welcome to a Michael's Zoom class. My name is Tanya, and I work for a very amazing company called GelliArts, and we are very, very excited that we are being stocked by Michael's. Over the course of this class, I will talk about different techniques, products that you can use, and how you can DIY your own texture plates. So just some housekeeping. This class is being recorded. So if for any reason you need to leave, you can. This video, which is being recorded, as I mentioned, is going to be put up on the Michael's YouTube channel within about 48 working days, 48-hour working hours. So what I'm going to try to do is I will have the chat running and see who's asking questions, but I might miss your questions. So we also have Luann, who is one of the owners of GelliArts, and we have the very lovely Madison, who's our social media coordinator. My dear friend and fellow brand ambassador, Marsha, is also here. And if everyone can make themselves known, and if you have any questions, they will answer, or I will stop and ask if there are any questions, and Luann or Madison can ask me whatever questions you guys have. Hey, Mansi, I can see some of the design team people here as well. Wow, it's going by really, really fast. Oh, Birgit here is here as well. Just to also let you know, we've had 2 Zoom classes already. This is the 3rd one that we're doing. So excited to be teaching a class for Michael's, my goodness. And you can watch the classes by Birgit and by Marsha, which are already up on the Michael's YouTube channel. I would recommend watching them both because we were just having a chat earlier. We all have very, very different styles, and we come up with different techniques, and we have different ways of using our products and different preferences. So I'll be talking about all of that. So enough of my face. Let's switch the camera over and I'll show you what we're working with. So thanks, Maddie, for that. So today we are going to be making some gel printed cards. So we're going to be making some contemporary Christmas cards, and they're pretty easy to make, but there is definitely a bit of a technique to them. So this is something that I love doing. It's called color blocking, and we'll talk more about it as we go along. So I do have some products here that I'm going to be using. So I'll put the cards to the side. So for your class today, we will be needing these mini printing tools. So this is what they look like, fresh, brand new in your packaging. And once someone like me has gotten their hands on them, they will look like this. But this is all dried paint. Don't worry, this washes off. The paint, acrylic paint just peels right off. I just might like seeing mine nice and grungy. It kind of makes them pretty to look at it as well, right? So we've got the mini tools, and available on the Michael's website and in the stores as well. We have the 8x10 plate, which comes in this clamshell packaging. And we also have the 5x7 plate, which I have ready here to go. So when you're storing your plates, I would also highly recommend watching the very first Zoom live class that we had. Sorry, I was just making sure that my audio was fine. So I would recommend watching the very first video that Birgit shared. And it's really, really good for someone who's never done gel printing before. And it really goes in depth into the basics of gel printing. So I can see that everything is in frame. let me just have the chat on just in case. And while I'm starting, I even put on lipstick. Maddie will take care of any technical issues that you guys are having. So I have the 5x7 plate here. This is a fairly newish one. The more you use your plates, you might discover that your plates might discolor a little bit, but that doesn't really affect their quality. So I've got some paints here. I've got the golden fluid acrylics here, and I've also got the Liquitex soft body acrylics here as well. And all of the products that I'm using here are all available on the Michaels website. So if you have any questions about names of colors, I'm going to try and mention them as much as possible or hold them up to the camera if it's an unpronounceable name, so that you guys know which ones I'm using. So I'm just going to put my paints to the side. And I am using a brayer as well. This is a speedball brayer, and it's a soft one. And it's important that there is a wide variety of products available on the Michaels website, something to suit every budget. So you don't necessarily have to use what I have. I would also recommend the GelliArts and the Americana range of acrylic paints as well. They're perfect for beginners. Or if you want, you can use the, just buy a couple of colors that you really like in the golden or the Liquitex if you like the look of them. So to start off, I'm just going to do a really basic print. I'm going to do a really basic print just for beginners. So if everyone could leave a shout out in the chat and let me know if you've ever done printing before and where you're from. And just to guys let you know, I'm based here in the UK, so it's about 6 p.m. here. So that's why I have my big lights on. So to start off, I am putting some small little dots of paint on my gel plate. And you really don't need a lot of paint to start off with. So, and then what you're doing is when you're using your brayer, you roll it once and then you lift it so that the whole brayer is evenly covered with the paint. So I like to not mix my paint in too much so that I can see some variation in the paint itself. And I am just rolling it out onto my surface here. What I'm going to do is afterwards, this is just a piece of ordinary paper that I have here underneath. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this afterwards and cut it up and use it for collage. So, and then what we can do is, we've got our paint on here. You can lift it as is, but I'm going to take one of the mini tools, which have these tiny little combs on them, which are soft. It's really important that you use something that's soft on your gel plate, not anything that's sharp, because you don't want to damage the surface. So I'm just going to use the combs to create some marks on the plate and just create some swirls. And it's really satisfying to do this. And the paper that I've got underneath my gel plate is the same size as the paper that I'm printing on. This is just some ordinary about 110-pound piece of cardstock to do my printing on. And I'm just going to line it up with the paper underneath and just do a print. Now, gel printing is something that I absolutely love, and I find it so relaxing to do. And here is your first print here. So what you need to do is you need to experiment with the paints that you already have just to see the different effects you get. So the amount of paint that you use will depend on the brand, And it will also depend on how dry the climate is where you are. Over here in the UK, it's getting a bit colder, and the central heating is on, which means that the air is a bit more drier than it normally would be. So I haven't got that much paint left on my plate, but I'm gonna try and lift up some of it to see if, actually I did use the right amount of paint because none of it lifted off. So like I mentioned, it's a bit dry, which is why the paint has dried onto the plate. Now, if you go back and watch Birgit and Marsha's videos, there is more detail about how to lift this paint off your plate for a technique called ghost printing. But I'm not going to clean my plate because I want to leave this there, because any paint that I apply on top, the paint that's sitting on the plate will lift up. So this is how you could get a solid print. Now, what I love doing is I love doing something called color blocking. So I'm going to say something really controversial here. So with printing, I always say that you don't necessarily have to cover the whole surface. I like to see some white spaces in my prints, and which I think makes it a bit more interesting. So I've got some paint here. So I'm using the Liquitex soft body acrylic. So this is the quinacridone crimson. That was a mouthful. And let me just put down some of the golden yellow medium as well. I'll hold it up to the camera to see which color I'm using, just to add some bits in. So I'm using colors that I know when they mix in together, they won't make mud, so that they look nice when I do some printing. Now I'll be pulling, I've got a little pile here on the side of little bits that I like to use for texture. I've got some good old bubble wrap here. So I haven't covered the whole plate, as you can see. I've just partially covered some of the plate, and I'm going to press my bubble wrap into that still wet paint and lift that up. And what that does is it leaves the impression of the bubble print on my gel plate. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to line my paper with the piece of paper underneath, because as I said before, they're both the same size. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to put a mark on here just to indicate that this is the bottom for me. So the more you do it, you might not necessarily have to make that mark at the bottom. But sometimes when I'm doing some really multi-layered prints, I like to put a mark just to tell me that this side is down. Or you could do it the other way, that this side is up. So I'm just going to pull that print now. See, I just used just the right amount of paint there because there's nothing left on the plate. So there you can see I've got a partial print there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce some more colors in. So let me set this to the side. And because I used very little paint, it's already quite dry. While I put down the next color, I just wanted to ask Luann, are there any questions or any comments that anyone has?
I think we're covered. So we have Marsha and Birgit and Nancy answering questions in the chat. So I think we're good.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you, ladies. What's wonderful about working with GelliArts is we work as a team, and we are very, very supportive of each other. So we turn up for each other's Facebook lives and classes and things, which is nice. So I'm just putting down a layer of paint on the other side. And what I'm doing is I sort of remember, you can see some of the paint has is still there. So I know that that's where the other paint ends. So I'm overlapping some of the colors a little bit. And what I've got next is I've got this lovely piece of packaging. So this is something that you would use for fruit. So I just cut it apart. It just was in a circle like that. And I cut it apart to use for texture. So I'm just going to lay it down on there and just press it down. So I'm basically using the packaging as a stamp. And once you start printing, I'm telling you, this is a very, very addictive process. And you will keep looking around your house for more things that you can use for texture. So I've got some of the impression on there. Actually, let me do it in the other direction as well, so that I can get that sort of hash kind of design. And then I'm going to take the same print that I was working on. I'm going to flip it over. So I've got that arrow pointing downwards. So I know that it goes in that way. And then I'm just going to pull the print. So you can do some really multi-layered prints as well. But I like doing this color blocking technique because then that way you can see the colors more evenly. And in case you didn't notice, I do love my bright colors. And I like to be able to see them as much as I can. So you can see that the colors have overlapped there a little bit as well. So it makes it look like the whole thing was done in one go rather than two goes. So I've got this bottom part to fill in now. So I'm going to set this to the side. And what color shall we do? Let's try. So this is teal. This is a golden fluid acrylic. So I'm using a combination of fluid acrylics as well as soft body acrylics as well, the Liquitex ones. So I'm just doing the bottom half here. And I can use the comb to create like a circular kind of pattern. And then just drag it up a little bit as well so that some of the paint goes up the plate. I'm not sure if that's picking up on camera, but you can see that I've pushed some of the paint up as well. So again, using the same paper that I was working with, and line it up with the paper underneath, and then you just pull your print. And there's just so many different ways, so many different color combinations you could use. I'll tell you what, it's a joke around our house that my husband can't throw away any interesting package without checking with me first. Yes, Marcia said you can't throw anything away. And pretty soon you're going to start looking at your utensils, your mats, and you're going to be like, ooh, I wonder what that looks like as a print. So here is a color blocked print that I have. How long does a gel plate last? Literally forever. It lasts forever. My oldest plate that I have used and abused, but I have looked after. My oldest plate is probably about 10 years old. And it has discolored, which is fine, but it still works like an absolute dream. My 8x10, my 8x10, I think probably is my oldest. So I'm just using a clean piece of paper just to see if there's any paint that's left on my plate. There was just a little bit, so most of it is dry on there. So that's a really, really good test to know whether you've used enough paint or not. So it's always a really big temptation to use a lot of paint, but it's always a bit shocking to realize that you don't really need a lot of paint, and a little goes a long way. So what we used for texture was I used some fruit packaging, I used some bubble wrap as well. You could use stencils. There's a wide variety of stencils available on the Michaels website. You could also use things like egg cartons as well. I have this packaging here. So this was like a really thick box that I cut and I peeled off the layer off so that I could get that hexagonal honeycomb pattern inside. And this makes a really, really good stamp to use and for printing texture. I also have a piece of cardboard that I put a hole in, and I just put some twine around it, some just ordinary twine, just to make your own prints. I have some more packaging, and here is another cardboard box that I cut into with a craft knife to create a tribal-like pattern in there. I'll show you guys what this looks like. This one looks quite nice as printed. I also have some old medication packaging that you could use for really nice texture. You can cut your own circles made with cardstock or old packaging, whatever you have. Use, if you think it might make an interesting print, then go for it. So going back to the cards that we have, so you can see that I've got a sentiment on there. So to do that, this will require a little bit of thinking and planning before you do the actual print. So first of all, when we're doing, wherever we're going to be placing the letters, I would recommend using a darker color so that there's enough of a contrast. So first of all there, and then what you will need is you will need some alphabet die cuts. So these are just some die cuts that I've got that I did with my digital die cutting machine. So these are all die cuts that I got off the Silhouette store. And what I've done is to save you guys, and I don't want to bore you so that you would watch me sift through all the alphabet to find my words. So I've already got some of my words here. And what I'm going to do is, let me just grab a piece of cardstock so that you can see what I am going to spell out. So we're going to start with a really simple word. So we're going to start with joy. But what you will need to do is, in gel printing, you will need to mirror your words, because you need to be printing in reverse. So I've got my word joy mirrored here. So this is it important to use a software? Again, as I mentioned, really good question, Monica. So the thing is that it's personal preference at the end of the day. I use both soft and hard brayers as well. You just use what you have. And again, Michaels has a variety of brayers and paints suited for every budget. I would say if you're not sure, watch a couple of the videos and decide for yourself whether you would prefer a soft or a hard brayer, and just try it out. And you will learn. My suggestion is to not overthink the paints and the brayers and the paper. Use what you have, use what suits your budget. All you need is a gel plate, some paints, and an idea and the willingness to have some fun with paint and get messy. And as you can see, my hands are already starting to get paint on them. So let's start with our alphabet print then, shall we? So what we're going to do is we're going to be doing the color blocking technique, but we're going to incorporate the alphabets into it as well. So you can use any old die cuts that you have, slim die cuts, like thin ones, just any kind of alphabet dies, or you could use steel rule dies as well. So to start off, I've still got my paint on there. I'm not going to clean this because I want to be able to see this when I do my print. But I'm not going to place my letters on this part. I want them to remain white. So I'm going to place them on an area that's clean-ish. So I'm going to start with this is ultramarine violet golden fluid acrylic paint that I'm using. So I'm just going to drip some. And again, I'm not covering the whole thing. I'm just doing a partial application of paint. And just spread it just to make it look a bit random. So if you're finding in this technique that your paint is drying, I would recommend using some kind of open medium. Both Golden or Liquitex have them. And it does take a little bit of practice, this technique, but you can get some really amazing results with it. So I'm just putting down my word joy. I'm starting with a really basic word, and I spelled it out beforehand because sometimes when you look at the same word over and over again, it just seems wrong. So I made sure that my words were spelled okay. And then I'm pressing down my bubble wrap into the still wet paint. And I'm going to leave those alphabets still there. And I'm going to take my paper, line it up with the paper underneath, and pull a print. And I'm going to press where I know those alphabets are so that I can get a really, really good impression of the letters. Let me just turn this light on as well. I just realized that I didn't have my side light on. I hope the lighting is okay, everyone.
Yes, it's fine. Don't worry. It looks great.
And then I'm just going to pull a print. See, this, I made a mistake. So as you can see, I should have lined it up, mirrored it the other way around, not this way. So let's try that again. No, it's fine. My goodness, what is wrong with me? It does say joy. See, this is what happens when you see the same word over and over again. It doesn't seem right.
Hey, Tanya.
Yeah.
The J is backwards.
Yes, that's
Okay.
what it is.
Okay.
Let's try that again.
Okay.
Sorry about that. So we'll do a dark color again. Just Brayer off the rest. And instead, I should have that J this direction mirrored. Yep. See, this is what happens when you are multilingual and you get confused about languages. Okay, so we are good now.
Hey, Tanya, you have to read this comment. They're saying, Christina says, I think the mistake probably saved hundreds of future ones for the rest of us. So good job.
So do as I say. Do as I say, not as I do. So just making sure I'm pressing it where the letters are. There you go. If you want to make it appear, the contrast to appear a bit more, then you can use a black pen to outline your letter. So let's try another print then, shall we? Let's do Noel. So let's spell that out. So N-O-E-L. So this is what I meant when I said that you need to use something that has a lot of contrast so that you can get a good print. So this technique does take practice. So again, I'm just putting my paint down and just making sure that my words are spelt the right way. So I've got Noel. So has everyone already done their Christmas cards? Because I've done the Christmas cards that I want to send out. I just need to post them. And just some light texture with a bubble wrap. And we do a print. So this is where you need to be careful that your paint isn't drying on the plate while you are placing your letters. And this is what I meant about using paint that has more contrast. So mailing your cards today, starting on my holiday cards. Perfect. Thank you. So it takes a little bit of trial and error to make sure that you're using the right colors, or you're using the right kind of font as well. Sometimes if your font is too detailed, then it might not give the right impression as well. And then what you can also do is, I've got these beautiful letters here now, these alphabets, that I could just stick on another card or a tag for use later. So I'm going to set these to the side and I'm going to continue working on that print. So I've got my word down. So let's fill in the rest. So what else? And then we can use, what sort of colors do you think I should use, guys? I've got this, the color that I used was quinacridone crimson. This is Liquitex soft body acrylic. I kind of want to use, let's use a green. So this is green gold. This is the golden fluid acrylic glitter, and love the teal. But I think teal, our obsession with teal hasn't really gone out of style at all, has it? So I've got the green gold there, and I've got Taylor green. I want to add that, but I already have a lot of paint on there. It doesn't look like a lot, but it is more than enough paint that I need on here. So just looking at my print and seeing where do I need to add that color. And you can see my Brayer clean off paper underneath is starting to look quite beautiful as well. So I'm going to love using that. Another thing that I love using is I love using wax paper. So this is something that you would have in your cupboard. You can use tissue paper as well, but I really love the texture that you get from wax paper. So I'm just to crinkle it up. There's so many different ways that you can use this in crafting, but I love using it for texture. So you can see that it's all nice and wrinkly, and it's got some lovely divots, and I love the way that it holds its shape. I'm just going to press that down onto the wet paint to lift up some of that color. And then we are going to do a print. Now, if I had mixed the green and the magenta color that I used on the plate itself, I could have gotten some brown-ish kind of shades. So this way, you can keep the colors a bit more brighter and cleaner and separate. But you could do a layered print as well if you wanted to. So there you can see the wrinkly texture of the wax paper up there. So what I need to do is I need to fill this part out and do this part underneath. So I think I will do that teal because someone said that they really love that teal color. So we'll do the wax paper texture. I'm telling you, once you start printing, you are going to become a texture junkie, and your partners will not be allowed to throw anything away. They will have to check. Well, my husband, he always has to check with me. He's like, is this okay to throw away? It comes to a point where I'm like, okay, if this box is full, then I'm not allowed to keep any more. So this still got my beautiful paper here. What else can I use for printing? Let me use my DIY packaging plate and just press that down. And then we pull a print. So I haven't marked my paper, but I know that this is the direction that I need to place my paper in. So are there any questions so far, Luann, or comments?
Oh, no, the team is answering them fast and furiously. So I don't think there's any others that I can share.
Does anyone have any questions about anything that I said or any products that I'm using today? Or if you have any comments?
It might be good to repeat a few of the best questions just for people who are watching the recording, since they won't have access to the chat.
Oh, that's a good idea. Ooh, so pretty.
So this is one of the finished prints that I have. I can do another one as well. And then we can chop them down and make our cards. Can you explain what color blocking is again? So when you initially do a print, you would cover the whole page, your whole gel plate, and you would apply your texture and you would pull a print. What I like to do is I like to put color in blocks on the paint on the plate and then pull multiple prints so that you get a layered effect like this. Now I can see that there's a little gap here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just apply a little bit of paint over here just to fill in that gap. So this is my first trying color blocking. Let me turn the chat on. Do you ever use your brayer to press down on the paper? You can do that. But I somehow find that motion of pressing the paper with my hands, it's very relaxing. It's gel printing becomes like almost like meditation.
So Tanya, there is another one about how to clean the brayer when you're done.
So this is a soft rubber brayer that I have. When it gets enough paint on it, I'm actually able to peel it off. I don't necessarily clean my brayers. Some of them have like lots of paint on them. But if you want, there are products like Birgit would knows the name of it, but one of them is like Murphy's oil that you could soak your brayers in, and that just gets the paint to slide right off.
Yes.
Murphy's oil.
Yes. So what we do is we mix like a half a cup in a bucket of water and just put the brayers in, and even your stencils, your Mylar stencils, and let them soak. And in about 10 or 15 minutes, you can pick them up, and then just the paint comes off very easily.
Yeah, this is if you're like really picky and want to have a clean brayer to work with. I like to clean them because I teach, or used to teach before the current situation, and it's always nice to have like a clean. I'm talking too much and my paint is drying, so I'm not going to do print out that. I'm just going to lift that off. And then we can start on a new. I'm going to ask Santa for a jelly plate for Christmas. Have you been good this year, Lisa? I think everyone deserves a treat this year. I think everyone's been good. Biotex. Yes, I have Biotex as well. And Murphy's oil is also really, really good. I love peeling paint off the brayer. Yes, very soothing. Yes, it's like one of those little known pleasures of stop worrying about being good and started buying my own presents. Oh, Tina, I think you and I might get along just fine. So let's do another one, just to reiterate on the technique again. How are we doing on time?
So we're good. It's 1:42. But Tanya, maybe you should just remind everybody of what you're using. So the gel plate, the roller, the paints.
Yep. So the plate that I am working on is the GelliArts 5x7 plate. This is the smaller one that's available on the Michaels website. And Michaels also stocks the larger plate. That one's a good one to have as well. And I'm using the mini tools, which come as a set of 3. When you get them, they will not look this grubby, I assure you. It's because I've been at them. And the paint, again, it just cleans right off with the Murphy's oil or the Biotex as well. Or you could just scratch it off as well. They're soft, these are. And as I mentioned before, it's really, really important that whatever you use on your plate to make any texture is soft, because you don't want to use anything sharp that will damage the surface of your plate. So I'm just going to make some marks. And then let's find another. And the brayer I'm using is a speedball one. So it's a soft brayer that I'm using, a brayer or a roller, depending on where you are. I think we have some international people logging in. I know my fellow brand ambassadors, Marsha and Birgit, are logging in from the Netherlands. I myself am from the UK. We have Mansi as well, who is in the US. Madison and Luann are in the US as well. Were there any other questions that you wanted me to answer on video?
Tanya, I think it'd be good to go over all the paints, all the different kinds of paints and that you can use, and different mediums that you can use. Can you talk about that?
Sure. So the paints that I'm using today are the Golden Fluid Acrylic. and the Liquitex soft body acrylic. So the fluid acrylic are a little bit less thick than the soft body. And I use them interchangeably because I love to experiment, and different paints will give you different results. Now, again, you don't necessarily have to use golden or Liquitex paints. There are some other paints that are available on the Michaels website. Where there's everything that's suited for every budget. There's the DecoArt ones, as well as the Americana ones, which work really, really well with the gel plate. So choose a brand, choose a few colors that you know you're going to use, buy a good brayer, and just have fun. And of course, you need your gel plate. So, and paper I'm using 110-pound cardstock. Again, you can use any kind of cardstock or paper that you have. You can use book text as well, or parchment paper or tissue paper, whatever you have, just have fun. Exactly, just have fun. Don't worry about having the exact same products that I have. Just have a look on the Michaels website. Think about your budget. If you want to treat yourself, you can get some of the higher end ones. I personally love using these. I've got the DecoArt ones as well, which I absolutely love using. They're a bit thicker, but I quite like using thick paint as well. So each one of us, design team people and brand ambassadors, we all have different preferences. I've got the Liquitex Basics here as well. So this is slightly thicker, and you can even mix this in if you want. And mixing the paints in and just having fun and having a play. And I've got a bit too much paint here, so I'm going to brayer that off on my surface. And we often talk about how we are really hard on ourselves. And when you're doing something for the first time, you're trying something out for the first time, when you don't get the result that you want, you get frustrated with yourself. I know I get frustrated with myself when I don't get something right the first time round. And it's about practice at the end of the day, knowing what colors to use, what paint to use, how much to use it. And it will depend entirely on the brand of paint that you're using, your environment, how dry it is, how humid it is. There's a lot of things that you need to remember and keep in mind. But there's a very big but. Be patient with the process. Be patient with yourself. Allow yourself to be a beginner. And just try something new. And with gel printing, I assure you, if you're really patient and you keep working at it and just have a play, have fun, it is such a deeply satisfying process. And pretty soon you'll have a giant pile of prints that you will run out of things to make with. Towards the end of the video, I'll show you some of the things that you can make with it. So I've just put my word peace out. I spelled it out and I've mirrored it so that it's placed downwards. And then I'm going to take my piece of wax paper. I'm going to reuse it because it's dry. I'm sorry welcome to my TED Talk. I'm just very passionate about printing and getting people to print and try new things. So I'm using the same piece of paper that I was printing on, and just place it down and just pull a print. So you can use your brayer if you want, if you've got some issues with that you're not able to use your hands, you can use your brayer, but I quite like using my hands. I love feeling that paper underneath my hands. This is like meditation for me. I just saw a comment. Seeing a class about the collage that you can do. Yeah, yep. If you put in a request through, we can see if there's something that we can do for you. I wipe the excessive ink from the brayer onto another piece of cardstock to use. Yes. So this I plan to use afterwards. So just making sure that I'm lifting all the paint. You're passionate about this. Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. So let me just close the chat so I can see that you can see what I've got printing. So there you can see the texture of the wax paper on there as well. And again, I've got these beautiful pieces of letters that I can use in other projects. And let's do this blue. This is ultramarine blue. This is golden fluid acrylics. So the fluid acrylics are of a thinner consistency compared to the soft body. And you will find that depending on how dry it is, because right now it's really dry over here in the UK, you might use a touch more paint than you normally would think that you need.
So Tanya, I'll just give you a time check. It's 1:52.
Okay. Okay, let me just finish putting this print. Just to show you something random, I have one of those outer coverings of a coffee cup. It had some nice texture on it and I saved it. So the things that you can use to do your printing and get some texture on your plate. So just pull that final print. And then all you need to do is you need to just chop them down. And you can add them onto your card. And here is the finished print that I did. And this is the other one that I made. And all you need to do is you need to chop them down and add them to a card base. And I used the mini tools as well to create the lines, as well as some found objects to create the texture. So other things that you can do with your prints is you could make your own little journals as well. This is just a board book that I made and I stuck my prints into it, and you can add some pictures onto it or some words that are meaningful to you as well. You can also make little mini albums as well. This is just some envelopes that I covered with gel print, with some gel prints that I have, and I bound them together with some tape. And you can also print on shrink plastic as well. So these are some earrings that I made that I printed on shrink plastic, on a sheet of shrink plastic that I cut down. So originally they were this size, and when I heated them, they shrunk down to that size. So there's many different ways that you can use your prints, things that you can do with them. Just to finally just check in the chat. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. Also, just to let you know, Maddie, could you switch cameras, please? So just to let you know that, thanks, Maddie. So we have another class coming up in the new year on January the 11th. Is that correct, Luann? January the 11th?
Yes, yes. Mm-hmm.
So we have another class with Birgit coming up soon. And this class was recorded as well, which will be up on the Michael's YouTube channel soon. Thank you so much, everyone, for logging in. And I hope that you have a great day. Thank you so much for joining us. Take care, everyone. Thanks. Bye.